This is Mitch with 1000 Houses Podcast. I'm here with Jamel Gibbs, and we're going to be talking about your financial freedom and how you might get there. That's the theme of this podcast, is trying to help people find a path to their financial freedom so that you can eliminate the job. So step one, find some way to replace your income with some mailbox money. And the reason why that's important, number one, is because that's going to free up 2,600 hours a year so that you can start to become the person you're supposed to become, fall into the passions where you belong, and stop giving those 2,600 hours to someone else. At 2,600 hours, it doesn't take but 4 years to get your 10,000 hours in. You can be the greatest at something. So let's figure out what that is. And today, to maybe point you in a path or direction, is Jamel Gibbs. How you doing?
Doing great, man. I appreciate you having me, brother.
So you're out of North Carolina. You just had a baby boy, got 4 girls, and just had the baby boy. Boy, that kid's going to be something else. One, he's going to have 4 sisters to contend with. But 2, he's going to have him a daddy now that's probably just dying to have someone take fishing and hunting or something like the boys do. You know what I mean? So
absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So when was the little one born?
He's 5 weeks. This Saturday he's going to be 6 weeks this coming Saturday. So
you got
I'm
your
just
hands
excited.
full, don't you?
Oh man, it's exciting. It's a blessing to have a son. You know, it's something that I've always wanted, and I didn't think I was ever going to have a son because we had 4 girls first. But
so I just have a question. If it was a girl, were you going to keep going?
No, I was done on the 4th one. You know, but we
All right.
we just had a boy and we're happy, loving it.
Good.
Little sleep these days though, man. A little bit of sleep. Very little sleep these days, but it's okay.
I can imagine. Let's start from the beginning. You're in North Carolina. Where are you from? And tell us a little bit about your evolution to getting on this podcast. So, where are you from and how'd you start?
Sounds good, man. Well, I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. I grew up there. I left Brooklyn when I was 24. My wife and I got married back in 2006. January 1st, 2006, we left New York and moved to Pennsylvania. Lived in Pennsylvania for 8 years. And I've been in North Carolina now for 8 years. I don't know if this is my final stop. There's a couple of other places I like. I like the Texas area a lot. So we were considering relocating there, but we're not 100% sold on it just yet. But I love North Carolina and just exploring options. I don't want to be stuck somewhere forever. So that's just kind of, I like
North Carolina is a friendly state for the buy and sell with seller financing.
It is very.
Yeah, and you still have very affordable properties there.
Yep.
I have some students in North Carolina, and
especially in my area. My area, where I'm located in the Triad area, it's very, very rent friendly and seller finance friendly in this area. Obviously, seller financing is one way to invest in real estate. You know, I've done a little bit of everything at this point. I've been investing for 20 years. I started off in New York. I really grew my business in Pennsylvania, and then I kind of catapulted the business when I came here to North Carolina. I really
so explain
took it to a different level.
If it's relevant, what was the decision to move from New York about?
I just didn't want to raise my kids in New York.
I understand. So
New York is it can be, I just wanted.
Well, you can say you say it can be, but you're from there, so you like grew up and was acclimated to it. Like when I go there, it's like, holy cow, this place is rough.
Yeah,
I know people think of Texans as kind of Wild West and everything, but we got some rules that make sense.
No, I love New York, man. I really do. I just, it's tough saying it this way because I grew up there. But I just didn't want to be around so many people, even though that's what I was used to back then. I just didn't, when I started going outside of the city and I started exploring different areas, I'm like, there's a much better life outside of New York. So I wanted to raise my kids outside of the city.
And if you move to Pennsylvania, they still, at least
Yeah, we were
a
only
couple
two
years
hours
ago, they
away
still
from the
had
city.
really affordable houses there too.
Oh, let me tell you this, man. When I moved to Pennsylvania, the first house I bought there, I think I paid 30 grand for it, something like that. This is back in like 2006.
Yeah, try that in
Um,
Brooklyn.
yeah, it's not happening. Um, the in the Pennsylvania market, the houses I was buying for 15 and 30 grand back then, I probably bought a couple of hundred houses there. Those same houses are like 125, 130 grand now. So I wish I would have held on to more. One lesson that I learned over the years is, I wish I would have held on to more rather than sold, because when you
Well,
see,
that's an easy 2020 looking back statement because we all
yeah,
kind of would have said that, but
yeah,
you have to do what you have to do. But
exactly,
you know, my experience, and I'm not an expert at this, but from what I think I know, I mean, rent controls and rent is tough in New
in New
York,
York City.
and
Yep.
seller financing is almost impossible because you really can't get
Yeah.
anyone out of a house if they don't want to go. It's hard enough to
No.
get the tenants out. And then when you move to Pennsylvania, they're not a real seller finance friendly state either. My understanding was they wanted you to practically be a bank. They wanted you to have a bank status. Is that
Yeah.
true or am I in left
Well,
field?
I was doing a lot of. I wasn't buying a lot via rent to own in Pennsylvania. I was doing more lease options and wholesaling and fix and flip. But the way we were making money in Pennsylvania, we would buy the house, fix it up, and then sell it on a rent to own. So in the area that I was
So
in, we
after a
was
year or two or five, or at some point in time, they had to get a new loan and get you out. Is that right?
pretty much, yeah, they would balloon payment us out within 3 to 5 years, and obviously, they're fixing their credit during that time frame, and then as they fix their credit, they're becoming mortgageable, and then once they become mortgageable, they would eventually cash us out. So we would buy the house, kind of like they call it the burr these days. You
Yeah.
would buy the house, you would fix it up, and then I would
You buy
rather
it,
than
rent it, buy it, rent it. I mean, buy it, rehab it, rent it, and
right
and refinance it.
rather than doing a full blown rental though, we were selling it on a rent to own. So it was that was a small twist to it. That way I could always free up the cash and keep turning it over and over and over. So we would make some money up front, money every month for a couple of years, and then cash out on the back end. And that was just a great model for us. At one point, I was over leveraged, and this was during the 2008 crash. I had too much money out, and I couldn't keep up, and that obviously hurt my business back then. But then that's when I discovered creative financing. I wholesaled my way out, and really, it took a couple of years to really start getting to another level with it again. But eventually,
You had to
um,
reinvent yourself, right?
I
And so
definitely had to reinvent myself.
that's one of the things with people. They hit the problems or the economy's role, depending on the strategies. I have two important questions I want to ask you, and don't
Sure,
feel like you can't contradict my point of view. I'm only telling you what my experience has been, and
sure.
I'm really interested in your experience. One of the reasons I didn't like lease options was there's a couple reasons, but and I want to know if you experienced this or you didn't,
Hmm.
because I'm
Hmm.
sure if you become an expert at something, you learn to mitigate some of the problems.
Hmm.
And maybe I didn't hang in the rent to own long enough to mitigate it because I found an easier way for me in my state.
Hmm.
But in the rent to own, you know, the more non-refundable deposit that you got, the better day it's supposed to be for you. Like, if someone gave you 20, 30,000 down on 130,000 on $100,000 house, I mean, it was 30% down, say. That's a really good day. You feel good. Except
Chances
for
are you
if
getting
they
thirty
don't make it,
percent down though. Chances of getting
what?
30% down is rough. You're
Well,
gonna
I
get
know, but like once in a blue moon, it would happen.
yeah,
Or let's just say, what was more real on $100,000 house? What were you getting down?
$100,000. I would probably take 10% down. That's about what
Okay, so
I
10.
would collect.
But
Hmm.
say, okay,
Hmm.
even 10, but let's say someone came in and said, I sold my house and I don't want the money to evaporate. I just want to give the whole 20,000 down. I want to have a
Hmm.
lower payment. It's supposed to be a
That
really good
happens.
day because, man, now I got 20% down. And the problem is if they, part of the problem was I found was that the people that you're having to do rent to own and fix the credit, they were kind of inherently flawed. Like they're never really going to get it fixed, you know? And that could be good or bad, except for if I collected a $20,000 down payment and they were upset and didn't want to lose that and they went to court with me, then the 20,000 was working against me with the judge and the jury, you know, because they were like, man, that's a lot of money. And so my
Mhm.
good day that happened way back when turns into my worst nightmare in court, you know.
They can.
And of course, that money's long since been put into another house or gone. I don't have
Hmm.
it. I mean, I could come up with it, of course,
Yeah.
but so did you experience that problem, or how did it work for you?
I'll be honest, man. We just didn't. I didn't have any issues like that.
Okay,
One thing I
okay,
will
fair.
say, one thing I will say is I've had people who put down a large sum of money and then they disappear. You know, they'll leave the house wrecked, and then I got to put that money back into the house. But I've never had a situation where I had to go to court and someone wanted their money back. And I think that's because of the way we screen people up front. And also, we make it very clear that this is a non-refundable deposit that you're putting down on the house. So,
Yeah, you
um,
double down on the paperwork and the signatures and the
yep,
disclosures and everything, right?
yep.
So I
So it's
get that.
very clear up front, but that doesn't mitigate the risk that can evidently happen if someone wanted to push the court system on you. But you know, I just haven't experienced that, and I've done a couple thousand deals at this point, kind of like you. But I just, you know, I haven't ever been to court for a real estate deal ever. I don't want to
Oh,
say
good.
that it's never going to happen, but it just hasn't happened to me.
Well, obviously, the way, if someone's making that statement to me, then this is what I know about them automatically. If it's true that you've never been to court, which I have no
Ever.
doubt, no reason to doubt you, I'm just saying, if someone's never been to court, it's because you're a straight shooter. You know what I mean?
I try to
Because
be.
the
Yeah.
people that are not straight shooters, they're in court all the time because
Yeah.
people are pissed. You know, that's not what you said. That's not the way it's supposed to work. You know, if the paperwork's not clear. Also, as a passing little tidbit, I know a guy who would put together like with the sub twos and everything, but he wouldn't make it one long document and then you sign. He would make a document that you acknowledge this, another document that you
Yep.
acknowledge this, and he had a whole bunch of documents that they had to sign and date or maybe even get notarized, so that when they, if they ever went to court, you could say, well, this
Yeah.
is where it is in this agreement with all this stuff, and then there's one signature, and people are like, well, who reads all this stuff? But when you start going, well, they signed this document and it's only like two paragraphs, you know, like you didn't read this, but you signed it. It's only two paragraphs. And you didn't read this one. It's one paragraph and you didn't sign this. I mean, you signed it, but you didn't read the one paragraph. I mean, you know what I mean? And it's like 15 times in a row. Like you didn't read it, any of these one or two or three paragraphs. I mean, you
Yeah.
didn't, you know, so it was able in court to just keep hammering with, and you didn't read this one either. And you didn't read this one. So
You know,
that's just
it's
a little
funny.
tidbit.
The only time I've ever been to court, ever in my entire life, I'm 41 years old, was during the pandemic.
Let
A
me guess. You
contract.
tried to help somebody.
No, it was a contractor. That's the
Okay.
only a contractor on a rehab project. I had to take him. I had to take him to court. That was the only time I ever had to go to court for anything real estate related. So
That
yeah, I do
says
try to. I
you're a
truly,
straight shooter.
I try my best to be, and I hope it comes across that way as well. I am. I tell it like it is. Very straightforward, very straight shooter. I don't try to beat around the bush, and I make sure everybody's clear with everything. Whenever I'm doing any type of business, I'm very clear with it.
Yeah, that's important. I've been sued three times over houses
Wow.
in my 27-year career, whatever, um, how many thousands of houses. Um, all three were because I tried to help someone with my real estate. I was taking homeless people and I was getting them out from under the bridge. I was getting them in a mobile home in a park that I didn't own. But then since they had an address now, I could get the Social Security, I could get the welfare, and I thought I was doing a good thing. The problem is the reason why they were under a bridge was they were broken. And me putting them
Ah,
in a house didn't fix their brokenness. So I'd
right.
have them $2,800 coming in now, and they wouldn't even make my $350 payment and the 300 to the park.
Hmm.
And then when I went to get them out, you know, they got a free attorney because they were destitute, or they were
Hmm.
classified as poor, and you would have thought I was Hitler trying to take their house. I mean, I'm the only reason they have a house and the income. And it was all three the exact same thing. So what I learned was, if you want to do charity, then write a check to a church or just give somebody some money to go buy
Yeah,
someone else's house. But like, don't do charity with houses because it doesn't work out.
it's business, man. That's what it is. So I learned that the hard way myself. Helping and a family member. Let's just put it that way, right? I helped an
Well, that's
in-law.
also tough. I have a rule. I have a
Yeah,
rule too. I
never
don't
do
sell
it.
my houses to family members, and I don't sell my houses to friends because
That's right.
it's a business. And when the payment doesn't come in, you know, business doesn't know relationships. It just knows expense and income. That's all it knows.
Let me tell you what I went through to get this guy, and he wanted to buy a house. He didn't have any money down. And this was an in-law, not even really related to my wife. It was her sister's in-law.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
he he so I got him a job,
Don't worry, he's not gonna watch it.
right? I got him a
He's
job.
not gonna watch this.
No, I'm not worried about it anyway. But got him a job, got his wife a job, got both of them raises during the first week at the job, then helped them get into the house, no money out of pocket, help him fix his credit, then help them purchase the house. The payment was just what they needed. They didn't make a single payment for 8 months and foreclosed on the house, and they blamed me for it. And I'm like, how is that my fault?
Oh, of course, of course. You're that asshole that gave him a house and expected payments. For
Yeah,
God's sake.
but it is what it is. I couldn't believe it. I was mind boggled by that. I mean, I got this guy a job, a raise within a week, and helped him fix his credit and buy a house. And it was my fault that he didn't make a payment. But people, they have a tendency of pointing fingers when they're just, sometimes people could just be lazy. It's an unfortunate
Yeah,
thing.
I
You know?
understand. Um, so if I really want to help someone get a house or whatever, that's the family. I'll go to one of my other friends and say, "Hey, you got an owner finance deal?" Or I'll make the note and I'll sell the note that day. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I don't
Yep.
run the note. I can't have anything. I don't have anything to do with it more. You just got to make your payments. You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make your
Yep.
payments, someone I don't even know is going to handle their business.
That's right.
So I also bought a lot of houses from people that let their in-laws move in as renters, and they didn't want to do the eviction right or anything because they were family. So they said, "Look, I'm just going to sell the house with them in it, and you got to do what you got to do." So
Yeah.
I bought a lot of houses that way.
Yeah. We
What is your
we
specialty? Okay, so you moved to Pennsylvania.
mm-hmm.
You did a lot of houses there. You did lease options or rent to own.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you move from Pennsylvania?
So my wife's family was here in North Carolina. I was, we've been coming here for 20 years. So we were like, you know what, let's just been with my wife since I was 19 years old. And we got married
How old are
at
you now?
20. I'm 41. So
Okay.
we got married at 23, 23, 24. And I mean, like I said, I've been visiting North Carolina for 20 years. We lived in Pennsylvania. We would still come and visit. I said, why don't we just move? And she wanted to be closer to her mom. My mom passed away about 5 years ago from cancer. Same cancer my mother-in-law passed away from a couple months ago. But for the most part, we moved here to be closer to family. So I literally had to sell everything in Pennsylvania and we just start fresh here. That's what I did.
So you didn't check out the real estate market before you moved, did you?
I didn't. I just moved. To me, real
You
estate is the
didn't.
same. Real estate is the same everywhere you go, in my opinion. It's
Yeah.
just strategy, knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to find the right people to negotiate with, and then with a small tweak of certain laws and in certain areas. I mean, you could pretty much do the same thing wherever you go, with the exception of New York and certain other areas. New York is, like you said, is really tough to do owner financing there, but short sales and fix and flip and buying
You can
New
always
York,
find a strategy that works, is what you're
you
saying,
can.
right?
You can. And New York is an appreciation market, so you play that market differently than you would in the Southeast. So in the Southeast, you have more of a rental market. You can have positive cash flow here. In New York, you're betting on appreciation. So it's different. And I'm talking about New York City. It's
Yeah,
different
yeah.
inside the city, because even if you go up to like, you know, uh Wallkill, for example, Wallkill area, or Buffalo or something like that, you're talking a different type of market. So you just got to learn the area. It took me a couple months to really learn this area, and then I just started crushing it here.
Yeah, good for you. There is some real affordable houses in North Carolina too, though, isn't
Yeah,
there? Those
for
those
sure.
30,000, 45,000, 50,000 houses, they exist. And
They
and
do.
by the way, the seller finance model works really good in
Hmm.
affordable housing like that. Really good.
Oh, it's perfect for this type of perfect for this type of area. Pennsylvania worked really well for that. I didn't do a lot of owner finance in Pennsylvania, but we did, like I said, lease purchase, and buy and hold and buy and sell as well. But in North Carolina, that owner finance model is fantastic. It really is. Anything creative finance here, you can literally crush it. To me, anywhere in a Bible Belt, anywhere in a Sun Belt, you can kill it if you're doing seller financing.
Yeah, I recognize the states, the flyover states. We
Yeah.
can do pretty good in most of the flyover states.
Hmm.
Um, so you're offering a free owner finance sale agreement where you're getting the seller to finance your deal.
Yeah,
Is that right?
that's
And I
right.
want everyone to go to 1000houses.com/Jamel, Jamel,
You
and
got it.
and they'll get you a copy of this owner financed or seller finance sale agreement, just a little roadmap to kind of map out. Do you get a lot of your sellers to finance you?
I get a fair amount. We're probably, I want to say 30% creative finance, 30% wholesale, and 30% buy and hold. Um, and that's about what we do in my business. I'm kind of transitioning. I'm always going to keep the creative finance and wholesaling model going. Um, I'm kind of transitioning from buy and hold to build and hold at this point. I want to build. Well, I'm building to rent, not going to IM. Um, so that's kind of the we're building new
Just
construction.
duplexes, fourplexes, or single family houses?
I personally like multi, and when I say multi, small multi. I like duplexes, fourplexes. In a couple of years, I am, I got a friend. You probably know who he is as well, but I'm not going to mention his name. But
No,
basically, he's
it's
building
okay. It's
larger
okay if you want
units.
to, but
Yeah, Daniel Clayman.
yeah, yeah.
I I went and saw him. He's about 2 hours away from me in the Virginia market, and I spent a couple of days with him. He invited me into one of his Airbnbs he has, and I shot a video, with him on my YouTube page. But he was building 100. He has about $100 million in projects backed up at this point. But he was building, I think, a 30 unit, something like that. But he started off with duplexes, quads, and then started, over the
Yeah,
years, he just,
bite off a smaller little piece. Learn your
yep,
contractors. Learn your art.
yep,
Learn the
yep.
because there's a minutia to everything, right? So you
Oh
learn the
yeah, for
minutia
sure.
on a duplex or triplex before
Yeah.
you go out and have to learn the minutia on 30 units or
And what I
50
love
units.
about what he does, he uses his own money to do this stuff. So he's not borrowing private funds. And I'm kind of along that boat, just like you. You have a lot of free and clear stuff. I'm kind of along that line as well. I'd rather go slower, pay stuff off, not have the debt, and then move on to the next project as I get more money up. That's kind of the way I work my business at this point. I don't like
I
a lot
learned
of
it by
debt.
watching a lot of people over leverage and go
Yep.
broke. Even a lot of the gurus out there, they have
Yep.
filed one or two or three times, some of them.
Yeah.
And I just keep thinking, just slow down just a tad. And
That's
I
right.
like to look at it like this. Tell me what you think. I love this analogy. I think it's good. You can tell me if you think it's good or not. Don't be afraid to tell me it's thumbs down.
Of
But
course, man.
I say you can keep using this debt and you can keep building a skyscraper
Mm-hmm.
and you can get it 30, 40, 50 stories high. and the view's really good from there. And you can brag about big numbers and all that, but you know, at some point I say you got to sell off the top 25 units to go pay it, because I want
Yep.
my business to look like a pyramid. You know, the base is really wide,
Long.
and here's the analogy: like when the really strong winds come, those skyscrapers can blow over. You
Hmm.
ain't blowing the pyramid over. It doesn't
Not at
blow
all,
over.
man. It ain't
It's
happening.
not gonna blow over. So I'm always looking like I even talk to my partner Mike sometimes. I'm like, hey Mike, are we getting a little too skyscraper in this department? We need to pyramid up a little bit or what? And he'll go,
I love
yeah,
it, man.
probably need to take a little bit off the top and put it at the bottom. You
Yeah,
know?
that to me, that's the best way to run a business, man. That's how you create true time and freedom. You know, if you have tons of debt, if you have unless you're doing like infinite banking or something like that, which is a whole nother,
Yeah.
then you start getting insurance to pay for your stuff. But if you're operating from a standpoint of time and freedom, which is what I like to teach my coaching clients, go slower. Don't worry about whatever. This isn't social media. This is real life, right? So build a strong foundation, pay off as much debt as possible. Even then, yes, debt can provide tax benefits and stuff like that. But really, when you think about it from a long-term standpoint, to me, I'd rather have the cash flow coming in and not have as much debt. And even if you don't have as much, as many doors as some of these other guys, your foundation is a lot stronger. You're probably making a lot more money by staying lean.
That's what I say. The view is really nice from the skyscraper, and you can talk
Yeah,
about big numbers. You can stick your chest out, and you can see this tremendous view.
it's all a
It's really,
facade, man. It's a
if you just want
facade,
to go
right?
a little higher, a better view, and bigger numbers. But
Yeah,
I'm saying, like, I'm a cash flow guy. I don't
me
care how
too.
much money I have
I'm
in
gonna
the
raise
bank.
my hand to that one, man. I
I
love that.
I tell people, like sometimes, like, what there's so many strategies. What do I do? I says, well, why don't you do some study and find out if you're a cash guy or a cash flow guy? Because
Mm,
depending on which one you pick, you can eliminate like half the other strategies. You know what I
yep,
mean?
yep,
I'm a cash flow guy, so but there's always like a mix. You need to have some
absolutely.
wholesales and some hotels
Yeah.
and some retails to have an influx of cash sometime,
Hmm.
so that you can take it and build the cash flow up. The cash flow moves slower,
That's right, man.
but it can be
It's a
forever.
long-term play. It's a
It's
long-term
yeah,
play, man. At the end of the day, I'll say this. Real estate is interesting because it really what you do in real estate depends on what you want out of life, and what you do in real estate really depends on what you need at a certain point in your life. So, for example, you know, most people coming into the business, they don't know how to find good deals. They should probably start off building up cash flow or cash
I mean cash, yeah.
wholesaling, right? They
Yeah.
should probably do that for a little while. And this doesn't apply to everybody. Obviously, this is a
Oh,
blanket
no, I
statement.
love the track you're on though, because the first thing you do is you need to prove that you can earn some chunks,
That's
and
right.
then you
You
get some of
gotta
those chunks in the bank, give you a little, so you have some breathing room, you
you have
know.
breathing room and you understand what a real deal looks like at that point. So then you go out there, maybe you do some fix and flips to build up cash a little bit more. That's not necessary. To me, fix and flip was just one of the biggest headaches ever in my business. That's just my personal preference, though. But some people actually like it. And then you get into creative investing and buy and hold and build and hold and things like that to build up your cash flow. But you got to learn the business. You got to build up cash. You got to know what a true deal is. And then you can take that knowledge and be able to build your empire from there. And don't look at everybody else's situation and think that that has to be yours. Maybe you're happy with 10 houses paid for. You don't need 1,000 doors. You
Right.
don't need 10,000, 10,000. Maybe you're happy with 10 grand a month. Just because somebody else is making 100 grand a month or $1 million a year or whatever the case may be, if that's not what you want, don't go after it. Go after what you want. And I think that's important. I think that people need to really understand what they want coming in and then create the game plan and get there as quickly as possible.
I'm going to tell you how I used to set my goals, and then I want to hear how you set yours. But
Hmm.
I never had a goal to have 100,000 coming in, or I never.
Me
All my
neither.
goal was my cash flow situation needs to be better next year than it is this year. It just
Hmm.
needs to keep improving. I'm just going to keep put another layer on that pyramid. Another
Yeah.
set. And if I get to the point, then I'll push out the base and we'll start running at it again. So I never, and some people would say that that's a fault. Like I
Mm-hmm.
never made a goal to be a multimillionaire. I never put a number on it.
Mm-hmm.
I just said I wanted to be better next year than I am this year, and let's see where we go. I want to take every opportunity that I have to make money, and I want to apply myself the best I can, and and see where it goes. And I never dreamt where I
Yeah.
would be
Where
where
you
I'm
end
at.
up, right?
And
That's
I
right,
don't.
man.
I want everyone to know that's listening. Somewhere not very far from me, maybe even a couple of 100 feet, is someone who can wipe their backside with my financial statement. I mean, but there's a lot of people that like to be where I'm at too. So I always
That's
go,
right.
so I'm under no illusions. I mean, I'm not Donald Trump, and I may never be Donald Trump. Chances are I won't, but I'm happy. I got what I need, and I'm certainly not going to risk everything I have right now so I could become a billionaire.
That's right. You're
I'm
happy,
just going
man.
to
And
keep
that's
trying to
what
be better next year, and if it gets there, it gets there. And
that's
if it
right.
doesn't, I'm going to die a happy man. How do you
My my
set goals?
my goal is simple. When I was broke, I started a real estate business when I was 21. So my goal was to make 10 grand. If I could get to $10,000 a month, I was happy. But then when I hit 10,000, I'm like, okay, this 10,000 is just like being broke because I can spend it and it's gone. I like the fact of building up 10 grand a month. And then if I spend 10 grand, it's like hitting the lottery every month. I have a new $10,000 coming every month. So my goal wasn't necessarily, I smartened up very young. My goal wasn't necessarily to, I never had a goal of being a millionaire or anything like that. It just happened, right? Over time, things just happen. But my point was, um, I was more interested in cash flow. How can I create more time for myself, more free? I don't care about fancy things. I don't care about my time is valuable. The time, like I said, I have 5 kids. I have a wife. Um, we live below our means, and at the end of the day, as long as I can keep that going, it gets better by itself every year. But as long as my cash flow exceeds my expenses and I don't necessarily have to get up and work, I'm happy. I don't need a whole lot, and that's
Well,
kind of the
there's
way
a
I
real
operate in
important
life.
statement there, because the reason why cash flow is so important is you're not going to be 21 forever,
That's right.
and you ain't going to be 41
You
forever.
ain't gonna have
I mean,
the
I'm
same energy.
61 right now. Like
That's right.
I don't even know if I could burn the way I used to burn.
Yeah.
You know what I
No,
mean?
man.
I couldn't.
No.
Luckily, I put, my deal was cash flow, because, but what what you really need in any go getter, super hustler, triple A entrepreneur, you're going to need some downtime, man. And it's a
That's
really
oh
bad
man.
feeling when you take a month or two off because you got to recuperate and nothing's coming in. It
Yep.
sucks.
Oh, that I
But when
learned
you can
that the
take a
hard
month
way
off,
through wholesaling. I learned that through I was doing nothing but fixing and flipping when I first started. And then I got into wholesaling. That's a full-time job, So if you don't have cash flow coming in on top of that, it's you're gonna burn out and it's gonna be and especially if you don't have a team to help you, you're gonna burn out quick. And recuperating from that is gonna be like starting all over again. So I mean you literally have to have cash flow coming in. You have to have passive income. If not, you're shooting yourself in the foot long term.
yeah, that's a good point. So I also believe that you, if you're a real triple A and you don't take much time off, or you probably, I haven't had a vacation in 2 years. I see people bragging about that. I go, you're gonna fall down one of these days, and
Yep.
it's gonna be rough. You need to take at least a 4 or 5 day weekend every quarter,
Mm-hmm.
at least. You know what I mean? And then maybe one longer vacation, or a week or 2 weeks. I was never good at that until a point where I got sick because I was working too much.
Mm-hmm.
I got just, what do you call it? I got disheveled, and that's when I learned. That's how I learned just about everything. Maybe you're the same way. I can read about it, but till it happens to me, I
Experience.
don't get
Yep.
it.
Experience, man. When I realized I needed cash flow, let me explain something. So number one, it was the 2008 market crash. I realized I needed cash flow over cash, right? Another time, um, not too long after that, this was like a second smack in the face. I took my wife on vacation, and when we got there, I left my debit cards at home, right? So I didn't have access to a lot of cash out there. I had the cash, but if I would have spent all of that money, I wasn't getting home, right? Um, Point is, you got to have access to the capital, right? You got to have access to, um, you got to have access to financing. You got to have access, well, not financing, but funds. If you don't have it, and if you spend that money, you're done. You got to start all over. You got to start from scratch. So rather than doing that, if I would have went on vacation and I would have spent all of that money, when I came back, I would have had another check coming in and things would have been fine. But my point in bringing that up is you got to have passive income. You still want to have the active money coming in, but the active money should be used to fund more passive investments until you get to a point where money is not necessarily an issue anymore. At this point in life, I'll be honest, man, money is the least of my concerns. I'm more concerned about my spiritual well-being. I'm more concerned about my physical health. I'm more concerned about my family health. Finances are always going to be a part of the factor, but it's the least important of the four. So that's the way I live my
I find
life.
that most people, they don't really want to be rich. They just don't want to have to
No,
worry about money. They just don't have to worry about it.
that's
If
exactly
if
what
I
it
need a
is.
new car, I get a new car. If I want to go buy a suit and it's 800 or 1500 or two, no, I go buy a suit. I don't want to have to worry or plan or budget for this suit or you know what I mean? Or if
I
I
like
want
how
to
you
take a
said I like how you said most people, because some people do truly want to be rich, right? There's people out there who, really competitive people. They want to be rich, and they live their life like that, right? They'll step on anybody just to make some money. But like you said, most people, if this is kind of why people play the lottery, right? They want to get that abundance in relatively quickly. The problem with the lottery is you didn't earn it, so you don't know what to do with the money once you get it, right? But if you earned it, if you went out there and you built up this thing that makes you the money that you need, then chances are you're going to know how to keep it, right? So most people just want a comfortable life at the end of the day. But there are some people that they're competitive. They want to be the best. They want to be considered number one in everything. So they'll step on anybody to get it. But if you're one of those people who just want to live a comfortable life, that's your goal. Why don't you create a plan, a game plan to get there? Know what your end goal is and backtrack off of it, and just take baby steps to get there every day. Right? If you
I,
just take
I
small
take it
steps.
you had no windfall, right? You earned like increment after increment after increment. Am I reading you right?
Um, no, I had a windfall. That's how I learned that the hard way. So
Well, what are you calling
I
a
was
windfall?
I was over leveraged in the the Great Recession. I was over leveraged. And that's kind of how I
Well,
kind
when I
of
say a windfall, I meant like you made a deal and you made 500,000. You had a windfall of money, a big lump of
oh
money dropped
no,
on you.
no, I
You
made
you didn't have a
increments.
windfall of
No,
money. You earned it like increments, and so did I.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and I wouldn't change that experience at all because I grew my success one little
yeah.
advancement at a time.
That's right.
I knew how to manage the money.
That's right, man.
The stories of the lottery winners who had 50 million, they're broke in 5 years.
Broke, broke, man, broke.
And that's
I've
a long fall
Yeah,
from
I've had
grace.
increments of money come in consistently over time. I haven't had huge amounts of one-time payments. So obviously you're gonna majority of your success is gonna come from base hits. If we're relating this to baseball, right? So majority of your success is gonna come from a base hit here, a base hit there. Once in a while, you're gonna get the home run. That's gonna help you bring yourself up to the next level. But most of your success comes from being consistent over a long period of time. Success, and I tell people this all the time, maybe you agree with me or not, success is boring, right? Becoming successful is very boring. It's you have to do the same thing over and over and over again, consistently over a long period of time until you hit your goal. Most people think success is starting from zero and then catapulting up with $1 million check or a $10 million check or whatever the case may be. It doesn't happen that way. For some people, it does. But for majority of people, 99%, we've built up over a long period of time. Success was very boring and it was very consistent. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I was listening to someone. I wish I could tell you who it was, but I was listening to someone the other day. They had done all this market research. Only 5% of the multimillionaires in the world had it given to them
Mm,
or uh, had it bestowed on them either through some kind of lottery or an inheritance or something. Most of the multimillionaires in the United States, 95% of them, earned their way up from zero.
yep. Yep. Earned it. And then they know how
So
to keep it at that point. And you know, there's a greater percentage of people. I heard somebody mention this the other day. I didn't do the research myself, so let me just put that out there. But they said majority of the people who become successful don't trust their kids with the success that they've built up. So they put things in place in order to protect the funds even after they're gone, so their kids can't blow the money. Because when the money is given to you, and you didn't earn it, your thought process, the things you do with the money will be drastically different than the person who actually earned the money, who knows how to keep it. You know what I mean?
absolutely
I just
right. I
thought that
agree
was a
100%. And
interesting thought.
it's a well proven fact. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's just a fact. As a matter of fact, what's the saying? It takes one generation to make it, another generation to hang on to it, and then the third generation to lose it.
Gone. Yep, gone.
And more than a few times, the second generation doesn't even figure out how to hold on to it.
Yep, that's
It
right.
can be so it's so what are your what is your aspirations going forward? Anything big or just keep making base hits and doubles and see where you go?
Hey, I'm just floating, man. My biggest goals right now really are wrapped around helping other people do the same thing. I'm 41, I'll be 42 in a couple months. And, you know, I'm just living life at this point, man. I'm happy. We have five. I'm enjoying my kids and my wife. You know, my wife is a stay-at-home mom, always has been. I made her that promise. When we got married, I said she would never have to work a day in her life, and I kept my promise. So I'm just
Yeah,
living
if
life,
you
man.
call having five kids not working,
Yeah, well, yeah, let me
she
that's a
got a
job
harder
within
job than
itself. It's tough, man. Sometimes I'm like, wow, I don't know, she's superwoman in this house, man. So, for the most part, I'm just, whatever happens, happens. I am still setting small goals, but nothing like when I first started, because when you're financially doing what when you're doing well financially, when you're well off, your thought process on things kind of change. It doesn't really become about the money all the time. It becomes about other things. What else can I accomplish in life? So that's kind of the way I am right now. Obviously, I have financial goals. Some people want to have a $1 billion company. I've never had an aspiration of having a $1 billion company.
I
So
know several people running that way right now. They're
yeah,
very young, and I think their eyes will get opened as they go because
yeah,
right now they're bulletproof and invincible, and they don't
yeah,
even know they're not even married. They want to be billionaires. Well,
yeah.
there's going to be some interruptions here that's going to cause you to rethink this. But I don't argue
Thank
with them.
you,
I just encourage them. Go ahead, go for it.
thank you,
No
man.
sense in talking about it right now. But
You can become a
um,
really wealthy person. You know, I love the way you operate your businesses, man. Like I said, cash flow, just living life happy, and just helping other people. That's kind of what it's all about at this point.
so
And
that's what. So why do you coach? For the money?
I coach because I want to see other people become successful, man. And and you could probably relate to this. There's nothing like seeing somebody start from scratch. Like, I got a student named Anthony who's in Georgia. So in January, he contacted us. He said, "Hey, I want coaching." So we signed him up for the coaching program. He's on pace to do over $1 million this year. First year in the business, never bought a house, well, outside of his own residence
A million
before.
dollar net, $1 million gross. What?
$1 million gross. He's gonna have $1 million gross this year off of, and he's a buying whole deals. So we're buying deals. That's what we're doing with him. at this point. And I said,
Okay.
you know, build up to a certain amount and then pay off. Or maybe you get 25 houses, you pay, you know, you sell 15, pay off the 10, and you're good.
Yeah, there
Whatever
you
they,
go.
you
Cutting the
know,
top off your skyscraper. Cut
that's
the
it,
top off
man.
your skyscraper and put it
That's
at the
right.
bottom.
Build up a certain amount, sell off, you know, 60% of it, keep 30%, keep the cash, and you'll have more money than you need to know.
Yeah, because the next 25 houses is going to be easier because you got a
That's right.
base now. You
Yep.
got, the hardest thing is the first the hardest thing I think is the first goal, which I suggest the first goal should always be figure out what you're making at your job and figure out how
Yep.
to get enough money coming in
Replace it.
to replace the job. So we can free up 2,600 hours.
And
If you
then,
can do
and
it part time, then how fast are you going to repeat when you have 2,600 extra hours a year?
that's right, man. And then on top of that, you know, a lot of people want to come into real estate and they want to quit their job right away. I'm like, put a year's worth of income in. Most people don't even have $1,000 saved up. So I'm like, put a year's worth of income, at least 6 months worth of income in the bank before you even consider leaving
Yeah, and at
guaranteed
least make
money.
some deals and prove that this business is for you or that you're for the
Right,
business. Don't
right.
just jump and then let's see if it works. I mean, no,
I would.
you got to burn the midnight oil after work and on the weekends, and you
That's
got to
right.
prove that the concept works for you, and then you can start thinking about that.
That's right,
People
man.
say, should I quit my job and go full? I said,
No, don't do
why?
it.
If you're going to be good at it, you'll be able to make a few deals at part time. Let's
Here's the
do
deal.
5 or 6 deals part time.
That's right, man. Don't leave guaranteed income for hopeful income. You're hoping to make money in real estate until you prove that you can make that money. Don't leave the money that you have coming in. I don't care how much you hate your job. It's money right now. You need that. And that can be used to fund what you're trying to do in real estate. So, a lot of people don't realize is a lot easier to get bank loans and stuff like that for real estate when you have a W-2 paying job. Guys like Mitch and I who are self-employed, it's tougher for us to get these types of loans in the beginning, obviously, right? But the point
It
is,
could be for a long time. If I can interrupt you, it
yeah,
could take a long time for you if you don't have your accounting in order. And I made
that's
that
right.
mistake. I was
Yep,
making a lot of money, but I couldn't take it to a bank in a format that they would accept because
yep,
I didn't have a good enough books. It
that's right.
cost me a fortune in low interest rate bank money because I couldn't ever catch up. My
Yep,
bookkeepers couldn't catch up to me,
yep.
and my financials were never in order.
So the point
The
is,
only thing that
use
came
use the resources you have to catapult what you're trying to do, and then you can restructure your situation at that point. But have some money coming in, have some money in the bank, right? Don't come into this thing broke and expect to be a millionaire within a year. You can do it, obviously. So some people, but 99% of people are not going to do it, right? So let's talk to the people, the 99% who are average, right? And average is not a bad word. That's not a derogatory term. It's being realistic. Okay. Most people should save money. Most people need to keep their job. Most people should understand, how to do a couple of deals before they consider, coming into this thing full force. And then once you do come in full force, keep your job for a little longer. Make sure you replace your income, like Mitch said. Once you replace your income, then you can start restructuring your life and saying, okay, I want to drop this because it's costing me more money to stay in my job than it is for me to continue building my business. Do you
oh,
agree
well
with
put.
that?
Well put. Yeah, well put. Um, I I just think it's just real important to also have a have a bookkeeper from the beginning. You say, well, I can't afford a
Absolutely.
bookkeeper. A bookkeeper only charges you for the amount of transactions they do. If you're only
Yep.
doing one transaction a month, how much could your bill possibly be? So instead
20
of making
bucks.
15,000 on the wholesale or something, you make you made 15,499. So what?
Yeah.
But be in order from the beginning because the other thing is I had to live like I was broke all the time because I knew I was making money, but I didn't know exactly. And so I lived like I was broke. One time when they finally got my financials together and they came to me and I saw it, I said, holy cow, I could have like done some other things years ago. I had no
Mhm.
idea.
Yeah.
I just had my head down, was doing my
I
base
love
hits,
that.
throwing
Love
them
it,
over
man.
my shoulder. Someone goes,
Yep.
well, why don't you do bigger deals? I said, you know, this has been working for me. I'm just going to stay where I'm at.
Yeah.
But then they go, well, how many deals do you do? I said, well, I'm doing 120 this year. Like, holy cow. I said, well, so little deals can amount to a big thing. I
Absolutely.
like
Base hits.
smaller deals or smaller deals because no one or no five deals could kill me if I made mistakes.
I love it, man. I love the fact that you said, you kept your head down and you didn't, once you pick that head back up and you realize where you were, you were on a different level at that point, keep your head
No, I
down,
didn't know for
folks.
years what level I was at. I
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
rinse and
Just keep your
repeat,
head down.
rinse and repeat,
That's right,
rinse and
man.
repeat.
That's what I mean by success is consistent. So success can be boring. Keep your head down. Don't worry about the end goal. Know what it is, but then work. Just go to work. Roll up your sleeves and say, okay, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to do what I have to do every single day. And when you pick your head up, you're going to realize you probably surpassed the goal at that point. Now it's time to set another goal.
Yeah.
But I love.
I'm gonna make a statement, it really helped you one time.
Mhm.
I had a lot of troubles. One of the saddest days of my life, or one of the biggest revelations of my life, was when I figured out how much I was worth, and it was, and I had recently read The Millionaire Next Door, or I
Mhm.
listened to it on cassette tape back then, and I learned that if you made $250,000 a year, I want to say you were in the top 5% of the world.
Yep.
It might be 3%. I don't know. It's that these multimillionaires and these kabillionaires and these shaws, they're all divided by 1,000 of a point at the top, and it
Mhm.
falls off really fast.
Mhm.
Falls off really fast. So I'm pretty sure if you look it up, if you make 250,000, you're at least in the top 5% of the world. So if you still aren't happy or still have problems, it's not because you're not making enough money. And
Yep.
I went to my wife and I said that. I said, you know what? I just learned we're probably in the top 3 or 2% of the world. So if we have problems, it's not because we don't have enough money.
It's
Uh,
interesting that you said that because I read somewhere they said the the average person in America, the average poor person in America makes more than rich people in other countries. I don't know how true that is, but
well,
I
I can
found.
understand the theory though. You know,
Yeah.
our poor people have cell phones and cable TV.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly
You
the
know,
point, man. So we really have nothing to complain about. All we have to do is use the opportunities that's in front of us and get out there and go to work, man. That's it. Most people just don't want to work. And that's what it is. If we work hard enough, we can accomplish anything right here.
the other thing that people don't really understand until they get there is having a lot of money can cause as many problems as it solves.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
It says more money, more problems, man.
And I also learned in real time that jet skis and boats and toys. And I have a ranch, so I have ATVs and
Hmm.
golf carts and four wheelers.
I gotta come
And
visit, man.
yeah, please, you're invited.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
I thought that I owned those things. I came to know that those things own me.
Mm.
I'm going to go on the pontoon boat this weekend. I get there, the battery won't start. I have to go. They're calling the guy. I mean, by the time I get on that boat, I'm so freaking pissed off. You know what I mean? Like, I, if it flies, floats, or faces the ocean, maybe you should just rent it. That's
You
my
know,
theory. Look at
you
these
know what we
people
call
in
those?
Florida.
We call those first world problems, man. Those are
Yes,
good
but
problems to have.
you think you're going to go buy a bunch of toys and everything. They own
True.
you. They cause
That's right.
problems. They cost you not just the acquisition of them cost, but it goes on. And then you have to store the boat and that monthly
Yeah.
payment. And then you have to winterize it. And then, you don't know how much there is
That's
till
right.
you get into it and you're like, wow, I should just, how many times did I go on the boat this summer? 4. Well, I should have just rented. There's a place you can rent a boat for $500 a day. I should have
That's
just
right.
paid $2,000 and left them the keys when I left.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
awesome, man.
so
Good
uh,
stuff.
but the problems that it couldn't solve was health issues or family
Mm.
issues or the God problems. The only one can fix it's God. I got to get
That's
on my
right.
knees and
I love
you
it,
know
man.
and so it
So there's four.
doesn't
So
matter how much money you make.
there's four pillars in life, in my opinion. Everybody's is different, but this is the way I live, and I think I mentioned it already. I put my spirituality first. I put my family well, let me take a step back. I put my spirituality first. I put my health and fitness after, then my family, then my finances. The reason why my health and fitness comes before my family
It's
is
part of
because
spirituality, really.
if I can't take care of, if I'm not healthy, I can't take care of my family, right? So I need to be able to be spiritually healthy and physically healthy to be able to support my family, and then worry about the finances last. And like I said, the money is the least important part of the whole thing. Nobody's worrying about how much money they made, how many hours they worked, how how many toys they bought when they're on their deathbed. People are more concerned about, did I live a good life? How many people I helped? Did I raise my kids the right way? Was I a good husband or a spouse to my spouse? These are the things that we think about. We're not thinking about how much money I've made throughout my life. That's not important, and it's amazing how important money is during your life and how least important it is when you're on your deathbed. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I've been absolutely. I've been to my share of funerals at 61, and it's happening more and more often. And I
Mm-hmm.
find this really telling. I go into the funeral home, and this man is rich beyond rich, and there's 30 people there. I go to
Wow.
this other guy's funeral, and he wasn't very wealthy at all. I mean, he was okay, and
Mm-hmm.
there was 270 people there. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay,
Impact.
what was this guy doing that had all the money that only had 30 people show up? And what is this guy doing over here that wasn't rich by any stretch of the imagination? He had enough, but he had, almost 300 people. There was no place for anyone to sit.
That's right.
I want to be like that guy. I
Yeah.
think, you know,
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. But yeah, this is good
all right.
stuff, man. I'm
So,
I'm really enjoying this, man. This is a great conversation. I hope the people listening to this are picking up some nuggets, because these are real life examples of how business owners should be thinking, versus,
all right.
just
So
the money.
maybe some people are listening. They're saying, okay, I got on here to learn how to make some money, and y'all are talking a bunch of bullshit. I say, well, you got to get your head straight first. You know what I mean? You got to figure
Yep.
out, you got to get this right first, and then if you want to make money, I mean, Jamal has Real Estate Investing Academy. It's over there at 1000houses.com/Jamal,
Boom.
Jamel. You want to, once you get your head straight, and you've got some kind of moral compass and some kind of direction on what it takes to be successful, it's not hard to find the coaches.
Yeah.
There are a dime a dozen right now. I mean, just be careful, do your research.
That's
There's
it,
people
man.
on TikTok right now. They've done 11 houses, and now they're telling you about $1 million mindset.
Oh
I know
man.
them. I've got several of them in my town. They're all talking about $1 million mindset, and I think they're getting their car possessed next week. You
You
know,
gotta love it, right? Everybody's a guru these days, man.
yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately,
Life coaches, and they've been divorced 7 times. Like what was? Geez. Um,
I love those guys, man. It cracks me up every time I see it.
So I think that what you want to do is you need to find someone who's actively doing the strategy that you
Yep.
want to do.
Bingo.
That's been doing it for quite a while, but they're still doing it,
Yep.
and they've been down the road, not 10 or 11 houses, not 25 or I mean the one you want. He's been down the road 400 or 500 houses at least,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yep.
that's what it takes to go through the gauntlet and learn where all the mines are. I'm in 27 years and 3,500 houses. I'm still finding some landmines.
Yeah, man.
I'm
Absolutely.
still
Oh,
looking at
hey,
some that, you know what I mean? Like, wow.
hey, man.
People,
I've been doing it for
people call
20
me and
years. I'm a couple thousand houses in at this. Not as many. I haven't done as many as you have.
it's not a measuring contest. That's not the
No, not
thing.
at all.
At
Not at all.
2,000 houses, you're vested. You're good.
Yeah.
You got your 20,000 hours in. You know what I mean? You've had enough
But I'm still
problems
learning.
to
Still
know,
learning
well,
though.
and you never quit learning.
That's right,
And
man.
if you're done learning, then you just stopped at the level, because
Yep.
there's always another level. So,
That's right, man.
um,
That's right.
so you get the top to your mountain. What do? You find a taller mountain,
That's
go
right.
climb that one.
Well, there's always going
I
to be
think that's
another
what keeps
Mount
you young.
Everest. Another Mount
Yes, but
Everest. You
my
know.
point was, you want to get this giveaway, the seller finance or owner finance sales agreement, where you know how you could write up for your seller to finance you. Go ahead and get that 1000houses.com/Jamal. There'll be the information on his Real Estate Investing Academy if you want to learn from him. What's really cool is you can find the right guy in your state.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and not to shoot myself in the foot because I've helped a lot of different people in a lot of the states. But, you know, if you want to do something in North Carolina and there's a guy that's done 2,000 houses and he's currently practicing and done hundreds of houses in North Carolina, that's not a bad choice.
Not
You know,
bad at
that's
all.
really not a bad choice. And the other thing I say is make sure that that guy that you pick is the kind of person you want to be on and off the field.
Mm.
You know, because if the person's doing really well, but out of the business, off the field, they're not really the kind of guy you want to be or the kind of person you want to be, then maybe you ought to look for someone else because it tends to bleed over. You know what I mean? Now,
That's
there's
some
no
great
perfect
advice,
man.
man. That's some
We,
fantastic advice.
we know there's no perfect men, there's no perfect
Mm-hmm.
women, there's no perfect person, but there are some people trying harder than others.
Yep.
So let's just
Oh,
get with someone who's trying really hard. You know what I mean? To like be good off the field as well as on the field.
the only man outside of Adam who sinned, the only man other than Adam who never sinned was Jesus. So, I mean, we can't compare ourselves to Jesus. You know, nobody's perfect. We just have to do our very best and then continue to help other people along the way in this thing that we
So I'm
call
a
life.
little moved to bring up. I'm a little moved to bring up something. It's a little off track, but
Yeah,
since
what's
we're
up?
in this vein, I quit smoking and drinking after 40 years by
Mm-hmm.
myself. No,
Congratulations.
no therapist, no anything. So many
Cold
people called
turkey?
to ask me about it. Yeah, cold turkey. And I want to
Wow.
caution everybody: don't do that. You probably got to wean off because a lot of people have died in the first 24 hours cutting themselves off
Wow.
of even just beer. You know, I learned that later. So in my book, I actually put a big red warning. Don't do it like I did it. You might kill yourself. Uh,
Mm.
but
I
I
never knew
so
that.
many people ask me. I wrote a book called Enough. It's out of my 6 books. It's the only one not real estate related. The only person, and I didn't want a lot of pressure. Go to. I didn't want to go to an AA meeting. I wanted to see if I could do it myself first. I had Plan B and Plan C, which would go to the groups or go get therapy or whatever. I had all that, but I wanted to see if I could do it with just one person on my team. It was
Mm.
God, and so I was able to do it. It came incredibly easy to me. I don't know why. The only thing I can give is up to the man upstairs because I quit in the first 7 days. I had to learn how to live and not go places I went, and I had to try to figure out like I had 40 extra hours a week
Wow.
that I couldn't do what I was doing. So I had to reinvent my life. But I wrote a book called Enough. I give it away on a digital format called 1000houses.com/enough, all lowercase. Okay. I give it away. I sell it on Amazon for whatever it costs me. This was like a calling book. Like if you have some vices you want to break or you want to know how I did mine on my own between me and the man upstairs and my thought process and everything, I finally decided so many people wanted to know that I tried to call them all, but then I couldn't call them all. I couldn't. There was too many. So I said, if this many people want to know, I'm going to write it. I think it's like 81 pages. It was everything I knew to say about it. My phone number's in there. If I didn't answer a question, you want to call me, just call me and talk about it. But this is one of my give backs. There are so many people struggling with different kinds of addictions,
Mm-hmm.
abuse, alcohol and drug abuse. I was highly functional. I drank every day. I only smoked when I drank, but I drank every day. So um, I was highly functional, but I was killing myself.
That's
And
a
I got
great giveaway. I think that'll help people, in my opinion, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a book like that is going to help people break other bad habits like belief systems and things like that as well. So for example, you might believe that, there's no way you can make 10 grand a month, right? Maybe that's a vice that's in your head. You can break that just by, following the same steps that's possibly in that book. Would you agree with that?
well, yeah, that's one of the things a great coach does
Mm-hmm.
is destroys your limiting belief system, like convinces you that like a lot of people I know think they can't raise private money. Like I don't have good credit. I'm I I filed bankruptcy last year or 6 years ago, or I'm new in this business. I don't have a track record. I'm too young. I don't even
Belief
own my own
systems.
house.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of reasons why people think they can't raise private money. And one of them was my business partner at the time. He was 25 and he wasn't my partner at the time. I was coaching him, and I said, look, you did really good when you had the family's money, but you ran out of
Mm.
family's money, and
Mm.
now you don't have any money, and you're not getting any money. What's the problem? Why can't you get money outside of your family? He says, I don't know. Let me think about it. He came back to me. He said, I figured out where my block is. I said, what? He goes, I'm 25 years old. I don't have a
Ah,
track record in this business. I don't even own my own house. Why are these people with money going to loan their money to me? I
you
haven't
know,
done anything. And I said, dude, it ain't about you. It's about the deal. What do they get if
that's
you don't
right.
pay them? I mean,
That's right.
you should be able to go out and get a $500,000 within 4 freaking phone calls right now. You should be. All you got to do is find a $1 million place that you could buy for $500,000, and someone ought to give it to you.
You know what's so funny about that story? I didn't buy my first house until I moved to North Carolina. My first house that I actually live in, right? Before that, I bought hundreds of houses before I ever bought my own first personal residence. So that is a limiting belief, right? I didn't buy my first personal residence until I was 33, 33, 30. I'm 41. So we've been here for 8 years. Whatever 8 years, 41 minus 8, whatever that number is, that's when I bought my first house, 33. Before that, I've done a ton of real estate deals. So it is a limiting belief. And if you continue to believe those things, you'll never do a deal. If you think about those things, I think people put these beliefs onto themselves as a way to say, I can't do it so that they don't have to take action. You know what I mean? I think that if you stop thinking so much and you just start doing, you don't have time to think. And if you don't have any
But
time
like
to
with
think,
Mike,
you'll succeed.
with like Mike, it wasn't that he wasn't capable. He
Mm-hmm.
just didn't understand how to phrase it or why someone would do
I
it. I
got you.
had to smash the limiting belief by going, it's not about you. They want to know how much you're going to pay them if everything goes right.
About the
And they want to
house,
know
the
what are they
asset.
going to get if it goes wrong. And if
Right.
what they're going to get when it goes wrong is better than what they're going to get when you pay them as agreed, then there's no problem. Then what's the issue?
Right.
It has nothing to do with you.
That's
You
right.
know, you,
It's
I always
that's
like to
true
joke around.
asset based lending, man. That's what that is. You know.
Yeah, you got to find good enough deals that
Yep.
they don't care about you. I tell them, you know what? And this is when I originated this thought. I said, Charles Manson should be able to get the money from prison for the deals that I get. It doesn't matter how many people he murdered. He's just going to call the warden and say, hey, I got $100,000 house and I need 40,000 in a first lien position. I'm going to pay you 10% interest, annually.
Yep.
And if I don't pay you your 40,000 as agreed, you're going to get my $100,000 house. And like the warden's going to go, I know the man's crazy, but what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
I might get rich. I might get $100,000 house for $40,000.
Yeah.
So
A lot of
once
people, they don't think
once
that way, man.
once we crush that limiting belief, dude, he's a money finding mofo. You know, what I mean, like he's just
Yep.
crazy.
Yep.
He was
Good
like,
stuff,
I
man.
didn't ever think about that. I said, well, that's why you hire a coach.
Yep.
That's why
Exactly.
I'm here. I'm supposed to break these. It's my job to ruin these beliefs that are holding you back. So, all right, my friend, you've been a real pleasure. I enjoy your spirit. I can see why um, you've had very little judicial problems in your life. You probably handle yourself uh, very, very well with other people. I can
Appreciate that,
sense that.
man.
So, anything you want to say to these people that are struggling to replace their job right now before we wrap it up?
I would just say have a goal, know what you want, and then go after it. You got to take massive action in order to get massive success. Just remember you have to be consistent. Don't expect it to be the most exciting thing, but the longer you're consistent, the more success you'll be. And the person who wins the game is the person that stays in the game the longest. If you leave and you quit, then there's no way for you to win. So just stay in the game and be consistent.
Yeah. I'll back up a little bit before that. We have the internet, we have blogs, we have podcasts, we have YouTubes. Skip around. I mean, maybe your first commitment is I'm going to spend the next 6 months trying to figure out what it is I want to do. I'm going to
That's
listen
right.
to everybody's program. And then figure out which one comes natural to you, what you gravitate to. When you figure out that one strategy, quit listening to everything else and then start honing in on the people that are talking about that and drill down for free as far as you can. And then when you're sure that that's what you
Love it.
want to do and that your market is good for that strategy, then that's when you go hire a coach. There's no way in hell should you not hire a coach when you know what you want to do. When you know that's what you want to do, that you're in the right place, the right market, and that's your passion, then you owe it to yourself to go get the coach, because you could almost have something happen to you. I mean, you could have something happen to you that almost happened to me. I had got 25 rent houses and they were killing me so bad, I was about to get out of the business and run like hell. I
Hmm.
hired a coach to get me out so I wouldn't ruin my credit, because where I bought these houses, no one could get a loan to cash me out. And I was struggling really bad. And I was trying to figure out how to exit the business without losing my good name. And the man taught me how to seller finance them. And that was 27 years ago. I almost got out and was almost smashed by a business because tenants were killing me and my inexperience was killing me. And the coach showed me how to stay in the game and make money. And I was forced to hire the coach because I didn't know what to do. I was panic stricken. I was panic stricken. He took 10 grand from me. It was the last 10 grand I had. And I don't care how much it is. When it's the last amount you have in your bank account, it's a
You're
lot.
gonna.
It's
Yep.
monumental.
Yep.
And he showed me how to solve the problem, get, I think at the time in 1996, whatever, I was getting, the houses were selling for 30, 40, 50,000. I was getting 3,000 down a house times 25 houses was 75 grand in my bank account. And then the spreads I was supposed to make as a renter, as a landlord, I started really making, because I was just the mortgage collector and I didn't have any reason for that money to go out. It wasn't my air conditioner. It wasn't, and people quit moving in and tearing my house down because they were owners. They were moving in and they were fixing the house out
Slow
up, and
flipping.
it changed everything.
Yeah, we call that slow flipping. So it's almost like a flip, but you're financing the houses for them. That's a great business model,
Right?
man, especially right
People,
now.
people, you flip houses? I go, sorta. I sell them. I stay in them for a long time.
That's right, man.
All right,
I
man.
think I think hiring a coach is the cheat code, though, man. That's the cheat code to success right there. And I think that if you like Mitch said, educate yourself, make a few mistakes, not too many, but hire that coach. That's the cheat code to get to becoming really successful really quickly. But hiring the right person to do it. It has to be the right person, because there's a lot of people who, like Mitch said, they've done 5 deals and now they're all of a sudden teaching people how to do it as well. Hire the right person and you'll have the cheat code to becoming really successful. It's like playing a game, right? And you got 2 ups, 1 down, if you know anything about Nintendo, right? 2 ups,
Yeah.
1 down, circle, circle, and then a square. That's the cheat code, right? You got the cheat code to the game when somebody's giving you all the answers.
The
So,
point is, you're going to pay one way or the other. You're either going to
right.
pay the street in mistakes,
Yep.
or you're going to pay the coach, and it's way less anxiety, and you have much better chance under tutelage than you do going out and taking your chances with the street, because the street's
Hmm.
ruthless. It'll kick you
That's
in the
right.
teeth, it'll knock you down, and it will give you no encouragement to get up. It'll just
That's
keep
right.
piling on you.
That's right, man.
I like to tell people, Jamal, I graduated from La Calle U. I didn't go to college, but I went to La Calle. That's the street in Spanish. I'm going to actually, I've been threatening this for a long time. I think I'm going to do it before the end of the year. I'm going to go get a college style looking ring, and it's going to say, and I'm going to have them put La Calle U on it. So when everyone's holding up the ring, I graduated from A&M, and I graduated from Texas. I graduated from Alabama. I say, I
The
graduated from La
streets.
Calle U. And then I'll let them figure it out. Some of them will look at me that know Spanish and go, that's funny. And the other ones will look at me and go, "Where's La Calle U?" I say, "Well, it's right out that door.
It's the streets
It's right off the
university.
sofa. It's right off the sofa is where it's at."
That's right, man.
All right, man. I appreciate you. This is Mitch.
Likewise.
I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by to get you some Jamel Gibbs and tuning into the 1000 Houses podcast. Again, one last time, go to 1000houses.com/Jamal. Get your free seller financed sale agreement where you can write up an agreement where your seller finances you. Also, learn about his podcast, his YouTube channel, whatever the heck he's got, and learn about his real estate investing academy if you want to learn from the man himself. Go out there and whatever you do, me, him, someone else, Just figure out how to replace that job. To me, in my humble opinion, that's the first step. Get that 2,600 hours in your control. All right? This is Mitch. We're out of here.
Well, I've had enough of this 9 to 5. This desk and chair robs me of my life.